Hi, this is Greg Koopman. In this video, I want to talk about a common business requirement that occurs usually based on the year. And generally what I want to call it is when a management is assigned to something. So, for example, salespeople might be assigned states to cover for their sales. So in this case, each year, those states that they're assigned to might change. And over time, when people look back in history as to what has happened, they want to see the correct hierarchy that was in place at that time. This could also be used as a brand manager's type of situation where they're assigned certain brands on the product line and they change from year to year. Okay, so to set this up properly, you would do a changing dimension type 2, but usually that isn't how it's set up from the get-go. And sometimes from the get-go, even being a changing type 2 dimension can be time-consuming as far as development goes and as far as implementation goes. So what I'm going to show you is it works. It's not as slick, as elegant as the changing dimension type 2, but you can get it to work, and believe me, you can probably get it to work pretty quickly, and that's might be all the time you have allocated to yourself to be able to get something like this to working. So sometimes it's put in as an afterthought. So what I'm going to explain to you is this simple way of doing it, and this is let's just look at this diagram here. It illustrates it probably best. Here let's say the company has 5 different salespeople, and it's a United States company. They only sell to customers in the United States. All right. Or actually they're salespeople, but they're in charge of different stores in the United States. So what they do is, as a store sells a lot of merchandise for the year, it's summed up and put in and tallied up, right? Just like when you look here at New Jersey, there's 2 stores, and this one sold $366,000 worth of goods and $408,000 worth of goods in 2017. Okay, now that same store, and it's under control of Jefferson. Jefferson was assigned to those stores because Jefferson is assigned to Alabama, Georgia, New Jersey, and Vermont, okay, for that year. Okay, so actually, let me take that back. The year, this is where it's not so elegant. I'm putting the year 2015 there, and it's going to change some things. 2016 here, and 2017 is there, right? So that goes with the assignment. So this 2015 assignments basically says that Jefferson is assigned to Alabama, Georgia, New Jersey, and Vermont in the year 2015. Lincoln to the California, Minnesota, New York, etc., etc. And then in 2016, as you see here, these are the assignments. So Jefferson no longer has Alabama, it no longer has Georgia, it doesn't have New Jersey or Vermont. It totally changed to Delaware, North Carolina, and Ohio. So the problem with this, like I said, if it was done with changing type 2 dimensions, you wouldn't have to correlate the sales year up here and do the filter for the assignments, which is here. Okay, you would just have to do it one place, and it would automatically fill in the correct assignments and show you the dollars amount. So you'd only have to have one filter if it was elegantly and correctly done with the changing type 2. But since that takes so long, again, as I said before, we can live with this, okay? So, but just to live with this takes a little bit of doing also. So I'm going to show you how we can set this up in the cube to be able to produce this, okay? And also the modeling of the tables that help allow this to happen. Okay, so let's just jump into the cube part here. And the cube part looks like this. So the cube is based off of 4 tables. We have a fact sales table, which basically has our store, the year it sold, the date key, the amount that's sold, and the and just a regular surrogate key here, which really doesn't mean anything in this case. It corresponds to a dimension store table, which has a store key and a store name and a state abbreviation. So that's where we get, like, store name would be store 5 and store 6, and their state abbreviation might be New Jersey, okay, for both of them. So that's how that's stored. Now, in order to get the sales manager associated with the store, we need to say we assign the sales manager to the state of the store. So, and then we also create a name field called sales year here, but this isn't really related directly to the date as it is here, but it should be, and so that's where we have to manually set up 2 filters there when we go back to Excel. So here we have the sales manager key. Here, this is basically just a cross-reference table. So let's just take a look at these tables. So here's our sales manager table, and as you see, there's 5 different sales managers: Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, Roosevelt, and Truman, okay, which you can see are the presidents of the United States, or former presidents. And here for our store, we have 25 stores. Let's just take a look at those. And they're uniquely named store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 25, right? And they also are allocated given the state that in which they are they reside, okay? All right, so what we do is we cross-reference. We have 3 different years we want to keep track of, and they're all assignments are all different. So what we do is we cross-reference the sales key here and the state abbreviation here, and we put them right here, See salesman key and state abbreviation. Then we name the sales year. So let's take a look at this table. So as I said, you have the sales manager key right here, 1 through 5, right? And then we have them assigned to different states, okay? And as you see, there's a sales year label, which is the name of the assignment, okay? And so that dimension will come out. So when we look at 2015 assignment, we can see that this sales manager was in California. All right, and you'll see their name. So that's how these guys work, these tables work, and that's really all the tables we have here in this demonstration. So what I did from here is I created 4 dimensions. I created the sales manager, I created a dimension off the cross-reference fact table here, and I created a dimension off dim store, and I created a what they call fact dimension off of the fact table off a year key, okay? So let's just take a quick look at those. So we have sales manager. Okay, if we browse sales manager, we see that we have Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt. No big deal there. If we go to sales year, this is the one we're going to filter the sales data by. And there you'll see we have the 5 years. Okay, and those are real years based on the transaction level, okay, or date. And then we have the sales state assignment, and that's where we have the cross-reference table. But as you see, when we go to look at what's showing there is their sales assignments, and those are where we list the 3 years of assignments, right? Okay, and in assignment hierarchies, really. And then here we have store. Again, no big deal. Go into browser, and we see the states, and under them you'll see stores. So Illinois, let's go to California, we get a few there, right? New Jersey, I think we got a couple there, okay? So you see how that works. So those, as you saw, all go into the Excel pivot table at the end of the day after we finish up creating the cube. So now the challenge here is, how do we get this thing configured, the cube configured, using these dimensions to be able to express our logic over here in the Excel pivot table, okay? So how we do that is like this. We go to the cubes, we take our, first of all, we create our dimension. First of all, obviously, we have our data source, then we have our views, which I showed you before. We have our views set up, and we have our relationships, our sales manager to sales manager key, and here we have store key, state abbreviation to state abbreviation, right? State abbreviation here to state abbreviation there. Here we have store key to store key, right? That's that relationship. Okay, so nothing surprising there. So what we do here is then we created our dimensions, which I showed you. And then at the end, after we do all that, we do our cube, right? We come into our cube and we create two measure groups, okay? And each of those measure groups is associated with the fact tables that are in our view, okay? So we have our sales manager state abbreviation year, which is our cross-reference one. And that's really just a placeholder in our dimension setup. We really aren't showing anything in as far as measures go coming out of there. Okay, and then we have our fact sales, and we're just going to show amount coming out of fact sales. That will be visible. Okay, so then we have all four dimensions are going to be associated with these two fact tables, and then we have to set up our relationships for them. So here's our cross-reference table. So for store, it says for store, when we cross here and we set up the relationship between the fact table for the cross-reference and store, where you're setting that by, not store, but by state abbreviation, which you see here. Okay, and then when you see sales manager and the cross-reference table, that's a regular dimension, and that is being set up by sales manager key against sales manager key in the fact table. Okay, and then for the sales state assignment to sales state assignment, well, that's just going to join it by its cross-reference ID. Okay, and that's going to join up fine, and that is going to join up also as a regular dimension, regular relationship. So as you see, that under the fact cross-reference table, these are all regular relationships, right, between the dimensions and the cross-reference table. But with the fact sales table, this is where it gets a little different. We have store key will be against store key, which will be a regular dimension, a regular relationship. But your sales manager and your in your sales state assignment, remember this one is going to have that thing called like 2015 assignment, 2016 assignment, that label. And this one's going to be the sales manager, which is going to be Lincoln, Washington, Truman. Okay, and remember when we go to the view of these, you'll see that these, the sales manager, right, Lincoln, Washington, you see it's not associated directly with sales. It goes through that cross-reference table. Okay, and then this cross-reference table goes through the store to get to here. So these are where we're having a many-to-many relationship to get to sales. All right, so that's what we have here. Too many relationships, and they're exactly the same. One's on dimension sales manager, and one's on the many relationship with the assignment table, the cross-reference table. Then your sales year, that's just going to be a regular dimension, a regular relationship between sales year and the dimension, and sales year in the fact table. Ironically, sales year is the dimension itself is derived from the sales year table, but at this point here, and when we've configured this, it's just like it's a separate table. Okay, so that's how the setup is, and that's, you can study this further, but that's how the setup is, so we can get this all to work properly. So we then, after we go through I'm not going to go through the building and processing each one of these things, because and the result after you do that is right here in our Excel spreadsheet that we showed you. Okay, so to look at the spreadsheet again, so once we have built the cube with that configuration I just showed you, you'll have your sales fact sales rather amount. You'll have a sales manager, right, coming out of the sales manager dimension. You'll have your sales year coming out of the fact table, in the sales year dimension. Then you'll have your salesman state assignment, which is basically this guy, which is your this is what those are right here, the label, 2015, 2016, that's your salesman assignments, and you see that at the top of the rows, the first one in the rows. And then you have all stores, and all stores is a hierarchy, so that when you drag that in, you'll have like Alabama, and you'll have like Georgia, right? Okay, so what this does though is that, and this is why it isn't completely cohesive, and what you have here is, okay, so as you see, by having our sales year set to 2015, we get the numbers for 2015. By having our sales years for 2016, we get the numbers for 2016 and 17, the same thing. By then putting in this assignment, which I put a filter in right into here, right? I just set the filter there, and that does that, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that you have to set two filters, which I said at the beginning. And so then we have, like, for 2015, the company made 6 million, 6.5 million, in 2016, 9.7 million. And again, in that 2017, a little bit less, it's 9.7 million also. So this describes it very nicely. You could do this another way, though. If I just went ahead and I didn't filter out these guys here, the assignments, and just left them all there, right? And just made it 2017, you would, for some reason, sometimes companies want to see, given today's dollars, what the hierarchy was last year or the year before, and this can suffice for that. So as you see, 970, it just shows them laid out a little differently in their hierarchy. And then for 2006 assignment, it's still 977, and it's just a different layout. And then same thing here. With 2017, it's 977, and it's just a little, again, a different layout. So that's what that is. That way, if you want to, you can use this however you want. It's not adding anything new or extra to the sales fact table as far as amounts go. You could look at them all with the same date if you wanted to, so you can line this up. So what I did in the other one is, like, I set this to 2015, right? Just unclick these, right? And then I went ahead and I just basically copied these guys over here, and I copied again over here, right? These are all separate pivot tables, actually. So let's say we want to look at just 2017 dollars, the same dollar amount, but I want to look at them differently for each of my each assignment year, right? So I could just go something like this if you wanted to. Now, I don't see really reason to do that, but some people do. So so you see Jefferson in 2015, although all these numbers add up to the same final company number, right? If you look at 2015 assignments, this is, assigned differently. So Jefferson has Alabama, Georgia, New Jersey, Vermont in 2015. But in 2016, they only have Delaware, North Carolina, Ohio. In this one should be 2017. See, I didn't change the 2015, so it's still back the same as Alabama. So let me change that to 2017. And here we have just a little different: Arizona, Illinois, Nevada, and Washington, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to show you how this works. It's if you get yourself caught in here, you have another option That is to make a full copy of the cube and just keep it. But that doesn't always answer the question for the current year, or if things change, you have to go and change all the copies of all the years back that you have these assignments, and that's a hassle in itself. And if a number changes, you have to go reprocess the cube or jury rig it. So this particular option does allow this for this sort of thing without really and do custom manipulation of the data all over the place to get things to look right. So, okay, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you. Thanks.